Hi, Kevin here from Horology Project, back at it with another review. I'm really excited about this watch that I'm going to be showing you guys today. This has been a watch that I've been wanting to get in my hands for a while now. I've been really patient in trying to find it. It's kind of a rare watch, but before I jump in and show you what watch we're going to be talking about today, I just want to tell you to hit that like and subscribe button and consider hitting that bell notification so that you're alerted the next time I upload a video. All right, you guys ready? Let's talk about what I have inside of this watch box. All right, there it is, the Omega Seamaster. But not just any Omega Seamaster. This here is a rather rare Seamaster. It is the reference 212-304-1200-1002. Omega likes to have a lot of numbers for their references. But let me go ahead and just kind of talk a little bit about what makes this unique. So, as you may have seen on this dial, this is a coaxial Seamaster. Now, most of the coaxial Seamasters that we know and see on YouTube or commonly on forums or eBay are the ceramic versions. But as you may notice, this is an aluminum bezel version, and not just any aluminum bezel version, but a black aluminum bezel version. This is, in fact, the first Bond-styled Seamaster to have the black aluminum bezel. This is what you would call a transitional model, meaning that Omega was moving towards doing a different style of a Seamaster and came up with this style, and then soon went into another style that would be more permanent. So this kind of becomes that middle child, if you will, where it's not quite the ceramic version, but it's not quite the original Bond version that came out in the 90s. But that's kind of what makes this watch so cool, and why I wanted to be able to get my hands on it, is because it's kind of a blend between the old and the new. Specifically, it has the newer movement inside. It has the more updated hands. Just the internals of it and some of the details, including the loom, are different from what was the traditional Bond. And then obviously it still has that older style of aluminum bezel. Now, I am a fan of ceramic. For those of you who don't know, ceramic is kind of the new material that a lot of watches are coming in. Dive watches are starting to come into ceramic as well. Probably a classic example of that would be the new Submariners, as well as these new Seamasters that are coming in ceramic. Ceramic's really a great material to be used because it doesn't fade. And it also has a high level of scratch resistance. Because this is painted on the aluminum, it's likely that over the years this might just suffer from some scratches, or at the very least fade. But with ceramic materials, you're not going to be able to have that as an issue. Now, ceramic does have its own problems. Even though it's very scratch resistant and doesn't fade, it is more prone to shattering, where this wouldn't shatter since it is aluminum. But let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about this watch. This watch is 41 millimeters in diameter. I believe the lug to lug on this watch is 47.5 millimeters. So from lug tip to lug tip, it's 47.5 millimeters. Across the lug here is 20 millimeters. However, this is a non-tapering Bond style bracelet. Let me go ahead, and I had the diver's extension open. Now, it's a non-tapering bracelet, which means that from the top of the lugs over here, which, by the way, solid end links right here, it doesn't slim down in profile to the clasp, but it stays 20 millimeters throughout all the way to the clasp itself. It has a twin trigger clasp with a stamped Omega Seamaster Professional logo on there. And this clasp works really well, very solid and secure. A cool feature about these older Bond bracelets is that on the new ones, actually, this kind of scissor feature right here, for whatever reason, when you close it, it sticks out a little. But on these older ones, they close completely flush. It also has a diver's extension that gives you some extra band length if you are snorkeling or have a wetsuit on and need some extra size. Now you're gonna have to forgive me, I can't remember the thickness of the watch. I want to say that it's somewhere around 13 millimeters. I'll try to put that on the video itself. It does have a crown at the 3 o'clock position that is a screw down Omega stamped crown, as well as an Omega stamped crown at this 9 o'clock position right here. This is the helium escape valve. So you use this to kind of depressurize the watch and release the helium after a dive. So let's talk a little bit about the movement in this watch. This movement is a ETA-based movement that has been given a coaxial escapement. What's really cool about this watch is it's the 2500D movement. So Omega had come out with the coaxial movement, which was George Daniels', I believe, original kind of escapement design. But they had an A, B, and C version. Each one of those versions was plagued with problems. My watchmaker says that they were very lubricant sensitive, meaning that if you didn't give the right amount of lube to the watch, it was likely to have issues or stop altogether. Well, eventually Omega went to a 3-layer design in this 2500D movement that we see here, and that seemed to do the trick. The movement became very reliable. Although they did edit this movement in its beat rate, typically the movement that they base this off of has a 2800 beat rate. However, this movement has a 2500 beat rate. Now, you don't really notice the difference too much, but if you do have a watch side by side with the 2800 beat rate, you'll probably be able to tell. This watch does have a quick date feature, and it is a COSC certified movement watch, which is great. But it does, as I said, it does have the quick set date feature right there, you could see. And then just kind of turn the time. I probably shouldn't have turned that time. That's okay. And it does have hacking seconds. Overall, I really think that this is a beautiful watch, and I just love the fact that it has the old and it has the new. Let's go ahead and pop it on the wrist and talk a little bit more about it. So this is a dive watch, and this has been tested to 30 bar, which is the equivalent of 1,000 feet or 300 meters. You can easily enjoy taking this watch in the water. And as you can see on the wrist, it is a beautiful, beautiful watch. I have smaller wrists. My wrists are around 6.5 inches. And I think that this watch, even though it's 41 millimeters, which typically I don't like owning watches above 40 millimeters, I think that this watch wears considerably well. Part of that reason is because of the lug to lug. With a 47.5 millimeter lug to lug, it's going to fit comfortably on most wrists. I like it when my watch from lug to lug is more towards the middle and you can kind of see a little bit of the watch coming off from the side versus what you don't want is you don't want it to feel like it's coming straight down. Sorry, I'm trying to show that well. But you want it to feel like it's kind of sloping off your wrist a little bit. And this does that. So even though it is a larger watch, it does that well. The bezel action is really good on this watch. Very smooth, very crisp, really easy rotation. It's not overly stiff at all. My particular example has zero back play, no back play whatsoever. And the overall aesthetic of this is just really nice. So in order to kind of time a dive, what you do is you bring this marker all the way up to your minute hand, and as this minute hand goes around the watch, you can time it 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and so on. This dial is really neat from the older Bond versions as well as the ceramic pre-2018 in that it has that classic wave dial. As I said earlier, this was the first black Bond watch, and it has that beautiful wave dial that has kind of become associated with this watch. In 2018, Omega re-released the wave dial design, but that's in a fully ceramic watch, and that watch happens to be bigger in size by at least 1 millimeter. But this watch has that older ceramic style. But something neat and different about this version than the previous one is the hands on this are actually of the newer version of the ceramic pre-2018. And it also has, as you can see, applied indices. So on the older Bond watch, the indices on the watch, even though they were similar in setup, were printed indices, but these have a little bit more of an elegance since they're applied indices with a little bit of metal borders around. Something really neat about this watch as well that is fully unique to this watch is the Loom. So on the older Bonds, they had that green Loom, and the newer Bonds have the blue Loom, but they have green on certain parts of it. Now, I'm not totally against having green on certain parts of the Loom. I believe they have green on the pip, which is this part right here, and the minute hand right here, so that those kind of can sync together in the night. But I'm a person that likes uniformity, and when I see the green and the blue together, sometimes it looks a little just not uniform enough for my liking. However, this version is the only Bond version to have a fully blue Loom, and I haven't charged this up fully, but as you can see, it's very visible in the night, and it glows a beautiful blue, and I really like it. The Loom has lasted a fair amount of time, even though this watch is a little older and Loom tends to degrade over the years. But it looks great. It looks great, and I like it. So it's just fun having a watch that has all these unique qualities to it. The blue Loom, the aluminum bezel, the wave dial, the applied indices, but with the coaxial movement. Just really the best of both worlds between the modern versions of the ceramic and the old traditional Bond pass, as well as being the first one in black, as I've made mention a couple of times. So I think this is a really cool watch, and definitely should be put on your own radar if you are at all ever considering getting a Bond watch. Another cool thing that Omega has is they always do such cool case backs, and this one has a really cool Seamaster case back, which is traditional to Omega's heritage. I actually have a 1960s Seamaster in my collection as well, and it's the same exact logo on the back of my Seamaster that's on this one. So that's cool to be able to go through the years and still have that same traditional design. Well, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this watch, and I'll catch you in the next one.